to all of those who are out here in the Eastern Hemisphere, and good afternoon and good evening to those who are in the Western Hemisphere. Gonna give it a second. Appreciate the thumbs up right away. Salute to everyone who's tuning in uh, as we get ready to get into this uh, topic today. What's up, Mr. Anthony E? Mr. Nice? Struggle, I always appreciate seeing you in the chat, man. Big time supporter you are. You know, I hope everything's going well for you today. I know it's a bit cold over there in the States. You're moderating two channels right now. That's what's up. Hey, as I increase my experience here on this YouTube thing, at some point I'm gonna figure out how to make create mods, and you're definitely gonna be one of them. But yeah. So today I want to jump into this topic. Just to have something to you know uh, chat about with this trending story that's going on in the United States, where you're having this phenomenon of um, of these terrorist attacks. And by the way, I'm about to switch up the view real quick so all of the viewers can see what I'm seeing this beautiful morning out here. As I'm just taking it easy this morning on this beautiful morning. So we're gonna jump right into it. This terrorist attack by this ex-Green Beret in the U.S. and in Las Vegas, Nevada, a couple days ago, there was a former soldier, a Green Beret, one of the elites, one of the top military specialists in the whole United States, committed a terrorist attack on the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas, Nevada, and it's been getting a lot of coverage. The media has been talking about it. Social media has been talking about it, but uh, there's a key component to this story that a lot of people um, have been overlooking. Why is the media treating this guy like he was just he had a few problems and he was dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder, and he wasn't a terrorist, when clearly the amount of explosives that he had in his cyber truck and his rented cyber truck was enough to kill hundreds of people had he been in the right area. And from the looks of it, it looks like he attempted to cause severe damage to the Trump Hotel, but he was unsuccessful in his calculations in how resilient that Cybertruck um, would be. And that's one thing that we got to give Elon Musk his credit for with that Cybertruck. As ugly as it may be, it is a very durable vehicle, and I think that the terrorist, his name was Matthew Livelsberger. Matthew Livelsberger, another domestic terrorist in the United States who uh, attempted to kill and maim, uh, scores of people, but he was unsuccessful in his attempt, and he was only able to kill himself. Which was kind of weird to me. You would think that somebody who was in the Green Berets, the United States military, would have, you know, be a little bit more calculating in what they were trying to accomplish. Now, this guy says that he um, he wrote a letter saying that it wasn't a terrorist attack and it was just a wake up call for America. Well, if it wasn't a terrorist attack, why did you pull into a public place where there was scores and scores of civilians and detonate uh, t- thousands of pounds of explosives with flammable liquids and gasoline and all of these things if you weren't planning on causing complete uh, devastation? What's up, Lee Clinton? How you doing? Thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah, we're all about the views here, man. This is one thing that you're gonna get on the Passport Show channel, man. Sometimes I go back and forth, you know, I go back and forth about with different topics. Of course, the main topic is just traveling and seeing different things, but we love views around here. We really love views. This channel is about bringing you the best views that you can get. You know, uh, we don't just like to just go places and just go chill on the beach and then that's it. We like to go into the mountains. We like to go into the nice hotels, the apartment buildings, and we like to get some of the best views that you'll find on YouTube. That's what we're all about. You know, if you are at work or something like that and you just want to get a little escape, you can always throw in one of these videos and, you know, uh, just to gain a little bit of uh peace and inspiration and you know uh just to see something different. And hopefully that'll stoke some ideas that you may have when it comes to your travels. But yeah, back to this Matthew Livelsberger, the terrorist guy in the Las Vegas attack. The media hasn't been calling this guy a terrorist. But what we see, a stark contrast to how they describe the the former soldier in New Orleans who drove through a crowd in a truck, a white pickup truck, and killed about 15 people. Um, and he had a flag on the back of the truck, is what they're saying. He had a flag that was representative of ISIS, uh, the group uh, in the Middle East, somewhere. I believe it was. I'm not sure exactly which country ISIS was spawned in, but somewhere over there. This guy, they said he had some sympathies for ISIS, and he committed an act of terror, is what we have to call it. In his mind, he may say it was an act of war or an act of retaliation, but at the end of the day, anytime you kill scores of people, it is an act of terror, no matter who you are. Even when it comes to the school shooters in the United States, when they kill more than one person or two people, it becomes a mass shooting, and it's also an act of terror. So, um, if anybody want to put in the chat, what is your thoughts about them referring to this Matthew Livelsberger as just um, a disturbed ex Green Beret uh, serviceman instead of referring to him as a terrorist? Is there a double standard when it comes to reporting on uh, American soldiers when they commit acts such as these? Because if the the perpetrator who had detonated those explosives in Las Vegas, Nevada, in front of the Trump Hotel, if he had come from another country, let's say he had came from Pakistan or Iran or Iraq or uh, Palestine or one of these places, or if he had been uh, anything other than a white male or a white female, they would have referred to him as a terrorist. Come on, chat. Let me know. Am I wrong for noticing this? How this guy is being referred to as just a ex uh, Green Beret, and people are making so many excuses for the guy, but they're not calling him a terrorist in the same way that they're referring to uh, the other former U.S. servicemen down there in New Orleans. And let's be clear, both of them, in my view, are terrorists, but only one is being referred to as such. So I just wanted to get the public's opinion on that as to why one is being referred to as as uh, um a not even, they don't even use the word disgruntled, but he's being referred to as kind of a depressed um former American soldier, and the other one is being called a radical Islamist. What's the difference between their actions? One used the car, the other one used explosives. And if you ask me, although the vehicle um, turned out to be a bit more deadly, the bomb is just as worse, because had that bomb knocked out the infrastructure of that building, think about the hundreds of people who would have been injured. It would have been like another Oklahoma City bombing, you know? And this is something that I think we need to explore. This is something that we need to talk about a little bit more. Why is the media reporting as this guy is just suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder? But anyway, let me jump into the comments. How you doing, Mark Smith? Am I a Sigma male? Are you? Nah, man, I'm just a traveler, man. I'm just out here in Malaysia, enjoying a beautiful morning, by the pool, hanging out, catching up on some of these trending topics. Don't be just another brick in the wall. Okay, let me catch up. Okay, it said, okay, retracted. I might have missed that. Don't just be another brick in the wall. If you want to throw another comment up, you're welcome, man. But yeah, so you know, it's interesting. The guy left behind some messages that they found. They said they found on his computer and on his cell phone, uh, where he kind of left an explanation for why he did what he did. And I'm a little bit skeptical still about that too, because where did they get this information from? Now, if the car was on, if that Cybertruck was on fire and th- everything was burned to a crisp, they said the guy's body was burnt beyond recognition, but somehow they were able to get his passport was intact, and also his ID was intact. Some tattoos were still intact, and his phone. They say they were able to get some information off of his phone. So um, I'd like to know, how are they able to do that? Now again, I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist in here. I'm just got a few questions. That's all. And I think this is something we all need to do. When we hear uh, the news report things a certain way, or we hear certain information coming out of the government agencies, there's nothing wrong with questioning and asking questions, because it's not like we haven't been lied to before. The public is lied to every day. So I think it is a prudent thing to ask questions and question the government. Use your own critical thinking and your own intelligence sometimes when being told something. No matter who's telling it. It could be the president, it could be a pastor, it could be a priest, it could be your own family members. Yeah. So um the guy says that in this letter, he says, this is not a terrorist attack. This is a wake-up call. I mean, just think about that for a second. What do you mean it's not a terrorist attack? Did you not feel your vehicle up with explosives, hundreds and hundreds of pounds of explosives, gasoline? Did you not go into uh, a crowded a parking lot and detonate those explosives? So I mean, these are simple questions that just need to be answered. And then he goes on to say that you know this is just a wake up call. A wake up call for who and for what? And why do you choose to blow yourself up and attempt to blow up hundreds of others if it's just a wake up call? What do you mean by that? I think that this guy's history needs to be investigated a little bit more. What is going on in the U.S. military that is causing people to just go rogue like this? Now I don't know. I haven't been in the military. I know plenty of people who have, and everyone has their complaints about something. But then you have some people who they keep things bottled up because they don't want to be seen as uh, being a traitor or having uh, you know feelings that are counter to what they're being taught. And DOD says that he was a Trump supporter. Yeah, I read that too. And I saw that on the news that said he was a Trump supporter. Now, what I don't get, someone can help me out here who in the comment section who may have a bit more information than me. If he was a Trump supporter, why would he go to a Trump building and attempt to murder hundreds of people, including himself? Because wouldn't it be, I mean, wouldn't it kind of make a lot of sense that if you go to the Trump hotel, if you're staying at the Trump hotel, you're most likely a Trump supporter. You wouldn't want to put uh, yourself in someone's building and give them your money if you felt that uh, you didn't support that person in some kind of way. You know, so this is what I'm trying to understand, and this is why the story also doesn't make sense to me. This part of the story doesn't make sense to me. You're a Trump supporter, but then you go out to hurt other supporters of the same uh, group that you're in. So now, I, from what it looks like to me, and I think that maybe uh, the government, the United States government, and the media in America, I think they don't want to reveal that maybe this guy uh, started off as a Trump supporter because there's probably a lot of data on his social media accounts that shows that at some point he did support Trump, but something in him changed. He saw something that made him change his views. And what was that? This is the question that we should be asking. What was it that made him change his views? Because obviously he felt that the only way for him to get his message across was to commit an act of terror. And frankly, I think we need to put this guy in the same category as uh, a Timothy McVeigh, you know, uh, maybe even a Dylan Roof or any of these other big time uh, terrorists uh, that have been born and raised in the U.S. We cannot make an excuse for the guy just because he was in the U.S. military. I mean, of course, we have to salute those who have, sacrificed their lives so that we could have peace where we're from. They gave the ultimate sacrifice so we can have the freedoms that we have. But once you return back to the United States, how do you turn off that murderous mentality? How do you turn it off? Are there any programs that the military provides to help uh, people? Um, what would be the word? Uh, Not decompress, but deactivate. Are there any programs that the U.S. military has that helps former soldiers, um, you know, get reacclimated back to American society? It was a message to both Trump and Elon. DOD, you hit it on the head right there. He saw Trump's BS. DOD, you smashed that right on the head right there. Because think about the coincidence of that. Donald Trump has put a lot of faith in Elon Musk. So much faith that brought Elon Musk into his he's brought Elon Musk into his administration, and he's given Elon Musk a lot of responsibility, right? So uh, the chances of this guy pulling up to the Trump building, not only to the Trump building, but pulling up in a Tesla that he rented, you know, he rented this Tesla off of Turo. So I mean, was he trying to kill multiple birds with one stone? He must have been trying to kill two birds with one stone, to rent a Tesla Cybertruck and to be in front of the Trump hotel. Definitely he was sending a message there. So he really planned this operation out. He really thought about it. And of course, he's trained to kill. Look, if there was anybody who ever wanted to stand up and make a big statement in in the American borders, it would be a serviceman. It would be a soldier because they're trained to uh, cause destruction. They're trained to kill. You know, this is what they're trained to do day in and day out. They think about killing because it's part of their job. So uh, now the question, we're gonna get to it because this won't be a long live, but the question is, will there be others? Will there be others? Because I just find it a coincidence that this was two soldiers back to back, and another uh, link that these two um, domestic uh, terrorists have is that they both did some training at Fort Bragg in Georgia in the U.S. Now, what's the chances of that? Both being soldiers that spent time at the same military training camp. Is there something that's going on at Fort Bragg that needs to be looked at? Were these soldiers, was this guy, William Livesberger, was he a victim of hazing? What about Jabbar, the guy who drove the truck into the crowd in New Orleans? Was he also a victim of some kind of hazing or discrimination or something like that? Did he have some different views than the rest of his platoon? What made him, or made them rather, coming from Fort Bragg, what made them say, you know what, enough is enough? I feel the only way to get my point across is to cause havoc and destruction. Now, here's another interesting thing. Uh, when you pay attention to the difference in how the media has been reporting on this, and how the government has been reporting this, how law enforcement has been reporting on this, right? When it comes to the terrorists in New Orleans, they say, oh, he was down and out about the way that his life was going because he was in debt. His wife left him. He was living on a little farm with a little property with animals running around him. I didn't know that animals uh, would make you depressed. If anything, don't animals make you feel a little bit happier? You know, animals are not judging you. Animals are not giving you a hard time. You know, animals will love you as long as you feed them. So I don't see that being a reason for him to just uh, up and decide to rent a vehicle and drive it into a crowd of people. So they said that the guy was having a lot of financial difficulties and things like that, uh, and he was going through a midlife crisis. Well, then, why doesn't that apply to William Livelsberger? Why doesn't that same uh, opinion apply to him? You know, he seemed to have a pretty good life. He was married, seemed to have everything that a person could want in life. You know, he was a decorated soldier. What was it that made him snap? And as DOD just said, he saw Trump's BS and he wanted to send a message. You know, now that says something. I don't get too political, you know, because to me all politicians are full of it. So I don't get too political, but there must be something there. What would make a Trump supporter just switch like that and say, you know what, the person who I support the most is just pissed me off so bad that I'm gonna go and drive up to one of his buildings and I'm gonna detonate some explosives and kill myself in the process. You know, is this a mental health issue? Is America going through a mental health crisis where men are not getting the proper support that they need? It's fair to say, because nobody ever talks about men's health or men's mental health. You know, as a man, we're taught that we have to be strong, we have to be warriors, we have to uh, never show emotion. You know, a man's got to do what a man's got to do. Emotions are for the weak or for women or for children. You know, and fair enough, yeah, men should be men, but sometimes men need to be checked on too. And you know, I just saw a study the other day that says that uh well, actually, this was secondhand. Somebody that was talking about it. I didn't actually read the study, but they're saying that uh, therapy has a high failure rate. People who go into uh, therapy and speak to therapists and psychologists and things like this, that these psychologists and therapists never actually help their patients. That therapy hasn't really helped anybody. I don't know if anybody viewing this has been through therapy, some kind of, if you had some kind of mental issues, um, you know, feel free to leave a comment and let us know. Has therapy helped you? Or do you have to help yourself? And I think it's fair to say that a lot of times, a lot of the problems that we have, mental problems, we have to help ourselves. And this is why I'm a big proponent of traveling also as well, because I mean, man, look, you could be feeling depressed and then you come in and you see something like this and you just hanging out by the water, even if you don't get in, you just hanging out poolside and you get to see views like this and mountains like this and a nice skyline. I mean, look at this. Whatever you were depressed about before, I mean, surely you'd feel good for at least a little bit. You may be struggling financially. You may be dealing with the loss of a loved one, maybe a loss of a job or a loss of anything. Man, and sometimes you just got to change your environment. I mean, it's definitely worked for myself, so I can speak on it and say, hey, man, sometimes you got to get out of that rut you're in, get out of that place you're in, and go somewhere else. You know, and sometimes it could be a marriage. What's up? Test the spirits if they are of Yah. How you doing again, man? I think I remember you from yesterday. Good to see you. Yeah, DOD. You know, uh, I know it might sound like I'm just rambling, uh, but I, you know, I have to say that I learned. I used to take traveling for granted, but I've learned that it helps. Traveling helps to ease depression. You know, it helps to ease depression. If you, like I said, especially if you're dealing with the loss of a loved one, and you're uh, maybe you lived in the same household or you lived close to them and you had a lot of close memories with them, and you're seeing these places that you and that loved one uh, used to go to all the time or spent a lot of time in, you know, it brings back those sad memories. So sometimes you travel and you go see different things, and it gives you a bit of distraction. It gives you distraction from those sad feelings, you know? And traveling uh, just helps you to release a lot of that stress, because you have to focus on getting to where you're going. And then once you get there, you have to figure out what's going on around you. You want to try different foods, you want to go different places, so your mind is occupied. And then you get to see that, hey, this world is a beautiful place. Yes, there's a lot of badness in it. This world can be mad at times. There's a lot of evil in this world, but there's a lot of good too. You know, you sometimes you gotta leave. You gotta go places where, you know, the saying, don't go where you're tolerated, go where you're appreciated. And a lot of times you may not get that same uh, uh, appreciation in a place where you are so much, because people start, they get used to seeing you all the time and they take you for granted. But then when you leave your home and you go somewhere else, you bringing a new light. If you're going with positivity and you're going with respect, you're bringing a new light to uh, a whole different environment, and people will let you know that they appreciate that. They appreciate you. Appreciate you, DOD. Hit that like button. It helps the channel out. Okay. Test the Spirit says he's lived in, or they've lived in 4 different countries. A bit. It makes you a wiser, better, built understanding, cultural, etc. overall person. And that is the absolute truth. That is the absolute truth. When you travel, it makes you grow. You know, it makes you grow. You have to, you're forced to expand your vision. You're forced to expand your perspective on things, and you learn. Especially, I would tell you, growing up in America, uh, watching American TV. And I have to be careful when I say America, because you know America is 3 different continents. I mean, you got North America, Central America, and South America. So technically, even in Brazil, they can consider themselves as America. So there's a distinction between America and the United States. It's 2 different things, although the United States is in America. But growing up in the United States, you watch TV, you read the books in school, they will have you thinking that America is the greatest place on earth, and there's everything else is bad. But I tell you, when you go outside of America, you start to find that, or you go outside of the United States rather, you find that that's not necessarily true. And then you find out that uh, other people have their own way of doing things. And the way that we do things in the United States is not always the best and it's not always right. You find out that there's a thousand ways to skin a cat, you know, and it just makes you, as Test the Spirit just said, it just makes you an overall better person because you become more of a complete human being, a more of an understanding human being, more of a patient human being. Just become well rounded. And this is something too why, I always found it difficult to support a lot of these politicians who are only talking about America, America, America. They haven't been outside of the United States much. They may have gone out for a few days, maybe had a meeting here and there, but I would much rather vote for someone who's lived abroad, who has some vast cultural experiences with different kinds of people, and has some foreign experience because foreign policy is very important and you won't know how to maximize uh, um, that foreign experience. You won't know how to maximize your power for the best if you don't know how other people are living or other people's perspective on things, you know. Yeah, right on point. There's much propaganda on TV and history books, absolutely. You know how many times I've I had to check myself and reevaluate what I thought and what I believed about other people in other countries once I left America. I realized I was like, man, what I was taught might have been a lie or it was just one perspective. You know, sad but true. So with CJ Snow, what's going on? It's been a while. There's a lot going on with this in Vegas than you know. Yeah, man, we're trying to get to the bottom of it. I don't know if you caught any of the beginning of the live, but we were talking about this whole Vegas situation, man, and this guy Matthew Livelsberger, and uh, how it got to the point where he decided that the best way to get his point across was to pack uh, that Tesla up with explosives in the front of the Trump Hotel. Now that's a hell of a message to send to Donald Trump and Elon Musk. What was the message? Will we ever know what it truly was? Now, when the FBI and all of these people release the information, can we depend on them to really give us the real information? Can we depend on them? Maybe there might be something that they don't want us to see or want us to hear. And why hide that? Shouldn't the people know uh, what to look out for? Has the face of what we have been taught as a terrorism changed? Has the face? I mean, if you look at this guy, the Tesla guy, William Levelsberger. I mean, if we're being honest, this guy is a domestic terrorist, or at least he attempted to become one. Now, is he the is the American media or the American government afraid that the face of terrorism has shifted from what we were told that it was in the early 2000s? If you go back to the early 2000s, uh, when I was a young man, of teenage age, and every day you see on TV, you were seeing guys that look like Osama bin Laden, people who look like they were from the Middle East. And this was the picture, the face of what we thought was a terrorist. But then as time goes on, when you see these guys that are committing these domestic acts of terrorism, you find that these are former soldiers, uh, military guys that look like every day they look like your neighbor. Uh, is this what the new face is? Check this out. Watch that link. You might have to put it in. I couldn't see the link. only had fireworks and notice not to hurt anyone. Yeah, well, I feel there could have been a better ways of doing that. This is what he said in his letter. He says that this was not a terrorist attack. This is just a wake up call. Now, a wake up call for what? Will there be someone who uh, will there be a copycat who says, okay, well, next time I'm not gonna put just model airplane fuel. We're gonna use jet fuel, or we're gonna use real gasoline, or we're gonna use C4. Because I agree with uh, the belief that if he wanted it to be a lot worse, he could have with the training that he has. But I still think he was putting uh, innocent people at risk by even attempting to do that, because there's no way of really knowing to what extent uh, the damage would be. So it's going to be interesting in these next few days to see how the media reports on this, to see what kind of information we get. And we know that there's going to be another story that's going to come that's going to push this out the way. Wake up call about civilians killing Afghanistan, and also he's tied in who the drones really are. Wow, that is a that is a uh, that is a great point there. Now those drones, people are talking about these drones, and I should do a live on these drones too. If not today, then or this morning, then later this evening or tomorrow, we're gonna talk about these drones, because this is something that's been bothering me as someone who likes drones. You know, uh, at least for like photography and things like that. And drones can be used for a lot of good things. I don't know why people are trying to get drones banned. The U.S. Congress is trying to ban drones, and I'm totally against that, because drones can be used for a lot of good things. You can use drones for search and rescue. You can use drones for building inspections. You can, like, there's bridges that need to be inspected, and instead of sending people up there on ladders and dangerous equipment using cranes, you can use the drone. Send the drones up with that have good 4K cameras and inspect to make sure there's no rust and there's no damage on these bridges and buildings. Um, okay, you said Sean and Ryan show on YouTube. I'll do that. Sean and Ryan show. So now, when it comes to these drones that were flying over Jersey just a couple weeks ago, um, I mean, look, we're in a new world now where drones exist, and even if there was a ban on drones, they're just like guns. You'll never be able to get rid of them. Why? Because people know how to make their own drones now. You can all of the materials you need, all of the pieces and the parts, you can order on Amazon. You can order this on Alibaba. You can order them on Temu. There's tons and tons of videos on YouTube of people who are building their own drones. So drones will, even if you ban them and make them illegal, you'll never be able to stop them. Just like for all of the people who are saying guns need to be banned, you need to get rid of guns, you'll never be able to, because first of all, there's too many of them already out there, and second of all you need is a 3D printer nowadays. There's 12-year-old, 14-year-old kids who know how to make guns now. So, you know, you'll never be able to stop it. It says drones are all registered with FCC. Yeah, especially the ones that are over 250 grams. Uh, there's a law that says if you have a drone and it's under 250 grams, you don't have to register it. But if it's over 250 pounds, it must be registered. And this is why Congress has also been pushing so hard to get DJI banned from selling their drones in the U.S., because not only DJI is a Chinese company, but they make. Let's keep it real. They make the best drones. You do have a few American drone companies that make some really good drones too, but the price of those drones are so outrageous that nobody wants to buy them. Who wants to pay 4,000 drone when you can buy a same drone of better quality uh, from a Chinese company for a fraction of the price? And that's what it all comes down to, the price. It's not that people want to support Chinese products over the U.S. products in America. It's just that the Chinese happen to make some durable products for a lot cheaper. You know, so this is an instance where the United States government is trying to restrict its people um, from having their own drones, and I don't think that's right. I think that's infringing on people's rights. But as far as those drones go that were flying over New Jersey, I haven't heard of anybody getting killed. I haven't heard of any of these drones falling and hitting anybody. I haven't heard of any of these drones hitting anybody's car. And you had these local politicians who were just complaining about nothing about these drones. Saying, "Oh, it's Iran, it's China." Like, think about that for a second. Do you think that the Iranians actually have drones that can fly all the way from Iran or even anywhere in the Pacific Ocean? Even if they had ships that could get somewhat, what, 50 miles out from shore, do you think they have drones that would not uh where the batteries would last long enough for them to fly over New Jersey and keep hovering for uh 20, 30 minutes at a time and just return? Like, that defies common sense. They brought them from China, where cars need licenses. Yep. Oh, you definitely need a license for a drone. As I said, you need a license to fly drones commercially in the United States. If you want to make money from your drones, whether it's from photography or inspection or uh, search and rescue and things like that, you do have to take a pilot's course, a basic pilot's course, and get a license. And you have to know about the different airspaces and this and that. But uh, the drone situation in the U.S., I think that was the military. It had to be, because if it wasn't the U.S. military, the drones would have been brought down. They would have been blown out of the sky, because it's easy to knock drones out of the sky. They have these what you call, like, these jammer guns that you aim at the drones, and you can block the signal between the drone and the controller, and you could bring the drone down to the ground. So the fact that none of that has never happened and nobody ever confiscated any of these drones, that should tell you it was the military. And they probably were doing it for security purposes. I think they were doing it for security purposes or surveillance. You know, yeah, the consumer drones are different from the government drones, of course, because the military got the baddest drones. The U.S. military got the most deadliest drones, because those drones can actually fly a few hundred miles. You have somebody uh, in all the way in an office in the U.S., and he has a screen and a remote controller, and he can control a drone all the way in the Persian Gulf. Or even when you look at what's going on in Israel and Palestine now, there a lot of those bombings, a lot of those attacks are being done with drones. You know, drones have become very popular during the Obama administration, because uh, Obama had ran on part of his campaign was that he wanted to bring the troops home that were in Afghanistan, that were in Iraq, and over there in the Middle East. But in order to withdraw those soldiers, they felt you still had to make sure they could you could. maintain dominance in that region without putting troops in the ground. So they opted to use drones to continue the war. So yes, there were less soldiers over there, less boots on the ground, but there was still a lot of killing going on, done with the drones. Said they're pulling intel off them just like the balloons. Yeah, yeah. I mean, look, you got Google Earth, uh, where there's cameras and satellites up there in space that can zoom in, but they don't get all of the details of the landscape, right? So with the drones, you can get a lot closer to people, and I mean, really, with the drones, you can drop bombs on people. So I'm not saying they're going to be doing that in the U.S. just yet, but there is a possibility that the police, I believe, you see the NYPD start using drones now. I think there's going to be a time where the police are going to be using drones to take people out. Biden FD out that pull out big time. Oh yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. And not and the thing too, they left so much equipment over there, in the effort to pull out and get some troops out of Afghanistan, out of Iraq. They ended up leaving billions and billions of dollars of equipment. Now, on the other hand, too, a lot of that equipment was destroyed on the way out. What they did was they said, okay, we're going to leave these Humvees over here. We're going to leave this artillery and these weapons, but we're going to blow it up or disable it before we go. So a lot of those helicopters and those tanks and things like that, they left them there, but they took out certain components of those vehicles that made them inoperable. So when you see the pictures of uh oh man, there's 100 tanks still there, 100 Humvees, 100 vehicles. Most of them, yeah, they might be able to drive, but they can't do anything more than that. No more than a basic car. Really have to watch Sean Ryan. He'll answer a lot of your questions. Thanks, CJ Snow. Definitely will. Definitely gonna check that out after I get off of here. But yeah, so I think uh this is a wake up call to America. I want to say, in conclusion, to uh, what we were talking about with this William Livelsberger, this former Green Beret turned, I don't know if he would be a freedom fighter or would he be a terrorist? I have to say that you have to call him a domestic terrorist too, because he could have put a lot of lives at risk. The only thing that might stop people from technically referring to him as a terrorist is the fact that he only killed himself. But according to him, this is a wake up call. And you have to take somebody like that seriously, because he's been to war. He's a trained killing machine. He's been on the insides of those classified meetings. He knows what's being talked about, and he's warning the American people about something. So I think we all need to be on alert, not just from foreign forces, but from internal forces in America. Those people that you see that are smiling every day, dressed well, wearing suit and tie, those people who are speaking eloquently, who have high education, who have strong resumes in um, the United States government. These are the people who are now turning on that government and making these kind of statements like this. Says, so where am I living, man? Right now, I'm in Malaysia, man. I'll tell you, I'm still an American, but I would say I'm more of an international citizen, because, um, they say when in Rome, you do as the Romans do. So when I go places, man, I don't poke my chest out and say, "Hey, I'm American. I'm from America. You must bow down to me. America is the greatest place in the world." I don't go places with that kind of attitude and that mentality. I go to places as an individual. I say, "Look, man. Uh, I like being here. I like your place, man. Show me around. You know, you respect me, I respect you. But being that I'm in your house, I give you respect first. And I know that the same rules don't necessarily apply here, but I come in peace. You know, don't judge me based off of the decisions that my government makes against maybe your government and your people. I have no control over that. Maybe my little vote doesn't really matter, you know. But if I can go someplace and make a positive difference as a U.S. citizen, then I'm all for that. But I'm not walking around waving my passport and telling people that they must bow down to me. Not at all, because I'm a human being first. Where I was born, that makes no difference to me. You know, I treat others how I want to be treated. But I'm gonna tell you, man, uh, CJ, this Malaysia right now, this Kuala Lumpur, man, this is a great place, man. I was really I can't even say that I underestimated Malaysia because I didn't know anything about Malaysia. I've heard of it, but I had no idea where Malaysia, what it was next to, what kind of people were here until about 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. So, you know, I'm gonna be here getting a few treatment. I got an injury on my neck and my shoulder, and I've been doing a little bit of therapy, getting some massage therapy and things like that, trying to help it out. But yeah, man, I encourage anybody who has a, a, a peaceful mindset, a peaceful warrior, you know, come check out Malaysia. And and another thing that a reason why I decided to speak on this topic is because I see what the American government and media is doing again too. They're trying to make it seem like all terrorists are Muslims, Muslims are terrorists and things like that. And me being here in this predominantly Muslim uh, controlled country, man, I'm here living pretty good, man. These people are treat me well. They're very accepting. They're very uh, open people. You know, they accept everybody here, and it's a very peaceful country, man. You know, these people are very nice and warm to everybody. So I'm just showing another side of it because they could easily make me a target if they wanted to. Yes, anything extreme is bad, no matter where you're from. You know, anything extreme is bad. So I'm just saying that um, there's good and bad people in every group. Last night I was talking to one of the drivers, like one of the Uber drivers, and I was saying, man, the people here are so good and so nice. He said, well, let's keep this. He said, we're going to be honest about this. He said, most of the people are good. He said, but we got some bad people here too. He said, we got some people who are a little bit bad. And then I responded by saying, you know what? That's everywhere. You got good and bad. And nobody is perfect. Nowhere you go is perfect. No human being is perfect. I don't care how much they pretend. And this is another thing that kind of irks me at times is when you get these people that get on TV, these so-called experts, these doctors, these politicians, these government officials, and things like this, and they pretend as if they've never done anything wrong in their life, and everything that they do is correct, and everybody else is bad. I mean, you can dig in anybody's life and find something uh, that they've done, whether it's speeding, which is still breaking the law, whether it's they started smoking before they were of legal age, they had a sip of alcohol before they were of legal age, they've committed some kind of fornication or adultery at some point. And I'm not saying everybody has done those specific crimes or sins, but you can look in anybody's life and find where they've lied before, they've been dishonest, and maybe even to their parents. So This whole holier than thou attitude we need to get rid of. Say evil is everywhere. What do I think they've done to get where they are? Exactly. Exactly. They had to step on somebody. They you know, they've had to do something. You can't go from the bottom and get to the top without, stepping on a few feet, here and there is pushing somebody out of the way. Now, mind you, as much as I know how the game is played, I just hate when it's done to me. I hate when people lie on me and drag me through the mud just so they can make themselves look better. So I'm gonna have to say I hate that. But then I learned that you can't hate the player. You gotta hate the game. Don't hate the player, hate the game, man. And it's just it does upset me that sometimes you have to play a little bit dirty just to survive and just to win, especially in the US. You can be nice, you can be good, you can be uh, honest, and you won't get any kind of benefit from it. A lot of the times, there's times where you just got to say, you know what, f you, f this, because if you being in my way is gonna impede my survival, you know. So I do like being out here. I don't know if this is clear. You guys can see the views. Look at the infrastructure that they have out here. It's so, I mean, they definitely. I think they've surpassed a lot of other cities. This is one of the most desirable cities I've been in the world. I mean, I've been to so many different cities in the U.S. and in the world, and I have to put Kuala Lumpur up there. Says, see, the whole thing about politicians is it's not about the person, it's their policies. They answer absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. It's the policies. It's like, look, I know you're not a perfect human being. You have some trash back there. You have some skeletons in your closet. But we're not here to judge because we all have something that somebody can pick at, right? But what are your policies? What are your codes? What are your codes of ethics? You know? So that's it. As the sun is starting to creep up above me today here in the beautiful country of Malaysia, we're in Kuala Lumpur. I encourage anybody who likes to travel, who's not on any BS, man, come check out Kuala Lumpur. You know, typically we, of course, Thailand, Mexico, the Dominican Republic. I like it a lot. I like those places that are a little bit more raw sometimes. But Kuala Lumpur has definitely changed my view uh, on a lot of things. And I would say, man, this is a country that many of us can learn from. Where's the towers at? On the other side of the building. Yeah, those Petronas towers. I would say it's on the other side of this building here. You'd be able to see it. Uh, those Petronas towers are a sight to see too. And it's so popular that if you're gonna visit here and you want to go to those towers, make sure you get the tickets to go. If you want to go inside the towers, you want to see the Petronas towers, get the tickets before you come because I tried to go last month and the tickets were sold out for the whole month of December. So I'm probably not gonna go before I head back to the States. So yeah, check out the Petronas Towers, but make sure you go online and you get you some tickets first. And those are the tallest twin towers in the world, and I think they were the tallest buildings at one point. It's been replaced over the last 10 years or so, but now Malaysia has just completed the second tallest building in the world. You guys can look this up if you want. The second tallest building in the world is here in Malaysia. Of course, the tallest building in the world is in Dubai, the Burj Khalifa, which is a great building. I've been in there as well. What's going on? Hey, Samantha. Samantha Rawlins in the building. Salute. Yeah, well, if you're just jumping in, we were touching on a range of topics, but the main topic was this this ex Green Beret United States military soldier who committed that terrorist attack a few days ago outside the Trump Tower. Um, we were just talking on the differences between his actions and like the actions of the guy down in New Orleans. Why is one being referred to in the media as a terrorist, and the other one is just the guy in Vegas is being referred to as a soldier, a good soldier, a decorated soldier who was uh, suffering from depression and post-traumatic stress disorder. Why isn't he being referred to as a terrorist? Is it because he only killed himself, or is it because of his the messaging that they found on his phone saying, "Hey, this is not a terrorist attack. I'm just trying to bring awareness and a wake-up call to America." What kind of wake-up call are you bringing? I mean, is if your point was, "Hey, uh, we gotta tighten up on the borders or something like that," you didn't need to do that because Trump is already campaigning that he's tightening up the borders, um, and we know what's coming with that. Uh, and then you got you have Tesla. Was he sending a message to Elon Musk by uh, pulling up the Tesla in front of the Trump building? We know that Trump and Elon have a pretty tight relationship. LV guy wasn't. Yeah, I mean, CJ, I'm definitely gonna look into that. With that show that you told me about. Um, I'm just saying, okay, would we refer to him as he a suicide bomber? Because I mean, you have fuel, you have explosives. Uh, you know, the explosives in those fireworks are like gunpowder. If you pack them pack them uh, tightly close together, you have the potential to make a bomb. Of course, maybe it's not C4 or anything like that. It's not as explosive as that, but um, the guy still put a lot of people's lives at risk, you know. And I think his actions he could have hurt a lot of people. So, hey, I want to show you guys something real quick. All right, he could have gotten anything he wanted. Yeah, he could have. Check this out. Where I'm aiming this camera right now. It may be hard to see. I don't know if the reception is good. But I'm gonna zoom in a bit. Right above those clouds right there, there's another little small city up there. It's called Getting Highlands. Getting Highlands. It's kind of hard to see because it's so far back, and this is like an old iPhone. But um, this is a very nice um, city that I would say that those who plan on traveling to Malaysia should check out. It's about 30 to 40 minutes outside of Kuala Lumpur, up there in the mountains, and you're above the clouds. I may stop there before I leave and go live from up there. But um, yeah, this is just one view. Look, and this is the boring side right here, what I'm showing you guys. This is the absolute boring side, even though we can see about 20 miles away, almost 30 something kilometers away. This is the boring side. Man, if you see the other side, you would really see some massively tall buildings that they have. These people, their infrastructure is very impressive, you know. And when I compare it to somewhere like Thailand, which is a place that I like so much. Yeah, and thanks for that thumbs up too. You looking at that, and I'm sitting here watching Pittsburgh versus Cincinnati. Is that the football game? Who's up? But yeah, I'll tell you, man. Look, I was a big football fan, man. Football was my first love, but the Giants. I was a New York Giants fan, but the New York Giants have been so depressing. Why I can't even watch football anymore. I can't even watch. You know, there's certain teams that I like. I do like Pittsburgh too. I don't get a chance to watch them like that, but. Yeah. So the wake up call um, from William Livelsberger, I think this is something we need to take heed to. You know, check in. There's a saying that we have: check on your peoples. I don't know if you guys have heard that saying, check on your peoples, but check on your peoples just means that the people who you think are the strongest, who you think that are doing well, those are the people you need to check on sometimes because these people. Let me flip this around as I'm talking real quick before I sign log off. So, this saying, check on your peoples. The people who you think that are doing so well, the people who you think that are the strong ones, who they don't need help, they don't need anybody, they always seem so strong and independent. These people have a breaking point too. And sometimes they need somebody to give them a call and just say, hey, man, I'm just calling to check on you and see how you doing, man. Just saying, what's up? What are you getting into tonight? What are you doing this weekend? Everything cool? That's it. It's just a little 15-second call or a check-in, and uh, it's always important to do that. All your friends, if you want to be a good friend, a good family member, a good son, a good brother, a good sister, uh, you know, call your peoples and say, hey, I'm just calling to see what you up to. Just checking in on you. And you don't know, that person could have been going through something. That person could have been going through a down moment that they didn't want to share with anybody. They didn't want to tell anybody that they were feeling depressed, that they were feeling bad. But that phone call that you gave them just uplifted them, that made them feel good. And you might be going through something yourself, you know? And that's the time where you should call somebody else, be like, hey man, I'm just calling to see what's going on. There's so many people that you know that you probably called or sent a text message to, and you don't know, they were probably thinking about harming themselves or doing something wrong to themselves, and just because you called them to check on them, that brightened their day. So never underestimate uh, the power of just calling somebody and say, hey, how's everything? I'm just calling to see how you doing, what you got going on. That person might have been feeling like, man, nobody is cares about me. Nobody is thinking about me or my problems. So check on your peoples, man. Maybe we'll have less incidents like what we saw in New Orleans. Maybe we'll have less incidents of what we saw in front of the Trump Hotel uh, with Brian, with excuse me, with what was his name, William Livelsberger. You know, maybe we'll have less school shootings, less domestic terrorism if we look out for those who we think are the strongest. You know, we're just men. That's the way it is, right? CJ Snow. What's up, Pen? You said if ain't no fun when the homies ain't getting none. It ain't no fun when the homies ain't getting none. I'm trying to tell you, man. Snoop, Snoop and Nate and all them told us that back in the day on Doggy Style. It ain't no fun if look. You gotta share what you got, man, and it don't cost nothing. It ain't always about money. Sometimes it's just about a word. Did you know that even smiling at somebody is a form of um a form of charity? It's like that feeling that you get when back in the day, if you help an old lady with her grocery bags, which I still do from time to time. You help an old lady with her grocery bags, or they say the ultimate man, you're supposed to be able to help an old lady cross the street. Those little acts of kindness, man. Just can help the world become a better place. It's still gonna be some evil out there, but I'm just saying that small acts of kindness go a long way. You know, I feel bad. I want to give also condolences to all of the innocent people who got caught up in a lot of the mess around the world. Uh, with the military, this guy down in New Orleans, you know what I mean, was feeling sympathetic to ISIS in their cause and things like that. But in the process, He killed some innocent people. You know what I mean? He killed some some young people who weren't even around, who probably weren't even born when 9/11 and all that happened, and the war in Iraq, the invasion of Iraq and all that. These youngsters don't know anything about that, and they lost their lives sadly. But yeah, man. So this is just one of the things we wanted to you know, jump on this week, this topic, and as more information comes out, we're gonna keep diving into this. We're gonna keep questioning to see what is it that are making people turn against their own government and create commit these kinds of acts like this. I'm really interested in this William uh, uh, Livelsberger story because typically you don't see people that look like him doing things like that, especially in front of the building of somebody who he claims to be a big supporter of. How do you go from being a huge Trump supporter to uh, blowing yourself up in front of his building? You know, so uh, we're just gonna dive some more into that. Said, hey, his son was in a mass shooting in Allen, Texas. Wow. I'm sorry to hear that. I hope he's found hiding in the back of Case Jewelers. Said he just felt defenseless. Man, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm glad he made it out. I don't know how old your son is, but I would say this is also a reason why, uh, as of right now, I am pro Second Amendment. I do believe that American citizens should keep have the right to keep and bear arms. You know what I mean? Because in a situation like that, how can you depend on the police to come and save you? Like when you have like an active shooter or something like that, how can you if you were to call 911, how long would it take for the police to get there and help you? But if you got your own artillery close by, you'll be able to help yourself just in case. Now, that doesn't mean that I think that kids should be able to carry guns to school now, because that's a tricky situation there when you got kids that might be emotional or get bullied or they overreact. You don't want the kids just shooting each other up. So, of course, there needs to be some restrictions, age restrictions, but um, I think in a place like Texas too, Texas is one of those Second Amendment states where they don't make it difficult for you to buy a gun. At least not that I know of, you know. Uh, so, and another thing too, it's not just enough to be able to buy a gun. You also need good training. You need to learn, people need to have trigger discipline, which seems to be lacking a lot in the United States. That you have so many people that have guns and they have no good training whatsoever. And this is how innocent people get hurt. People end up shooting themselves, you know. I think that uh maybe hopefully this stays up, this video stays up and be recorded, because I haven't heard anybody propose this, and I've been saying this for years, that although some people would say it's against the constitutional rights to force people to get uh, firearms training when they buy firearms, I think it should be mandatory for everybody who buys a gun has to go through a firearm safety course. Before you can walk out of the store with that gun, you have to go through some kind of safety course, which the safety courses are so simple. Anybody can, you know, you keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to fire. Never point your weapon at something that you're not willing to destroy. Never point it at people, things like that. That should be mandatory training, because there's so many people who have guns with no training at all. You see it on TV all the time, these on the news. People think because they got a gun automatically they're safe and they're brave and things like that. It doesn't work like that. You need training. Even these police need training. You know. In fact, I think it should be mandatory. Police need to go through extra training. You will hear less stories of these police coming up with that excuse. Oh, I thought I was grabbing my taser. I didn't mean to grab my firearm. I know he was unarmed or she was unarmed, but I was reaching for my taser. Really? So we need more training. You know, so your son was a senior in high school. You got him a gun for graduation. Congratulations on that and training. That's good, man. You know, I think that that is very important, and you've just given him a big responsibility. You know, and I think that people tend with firearms tend to be a lot more, and with firearm training, are much more responsible than people who don't have training. You know, just the problem is you have states like California, New York, New Jersey, uh, Hawaii, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, maybe Massachusetts, one of these, Rhode Island, and one of these places that got these real strict gun laws that make it very difficult for law-abiding citizens to acquire a firearm and to be able to get a concealed carry permit. And it's just ridiculous that we're at the mercy in those states. You're at the mercy of the police, who a lot of times they end up doing a lot more harm than good in certain frantic situations, and they end up shooting innocent people or unarmed people. I don't want to say innocent, but I'll say they shoot a lot of unarmed people. And you know, uh, in the mindset, if you go to New York, New Jersey, the mindset of the people is that if you have a gun, you're a bad person. This is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. Everybody in it has. I don't know about non-citizens, but I do know that citizens in the United States, you have a constitutional right, the Second Amendment, to keep and bear arms. I don't remember it word for word, but it goes something like a well-regulated militia, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. It shall not be infringed. That means that you have a right to defend yourself, and the government should not get in between you and that right to keep and bear arms. But look what happens in New York and New Jersey all the time. You got somebody who, in California, you get somebody who gets caught with a firearm, and now they're facing charges for up to 5 years, 10 years, and nobody ever challenges that. The lawyers never challenge it. The judges overlook that Constitution. Is because most people don't know the law. They don't know that the Constitution is supposed to govern the whole country and not just state laws governing themselves. But the U.S. Constitution is supposed to cover everything and everybody, right? But most lawyers are not constitutional lawyers. Most lawyers are just, uh, the lawyers in their state and whatnot, and they may not have the knowledge, or they don't have the the ability or even the desire to go up against a state judge and say, Your Honor, we ask that these charges, this gun possession charge, to be dismissed because we find out it is my client's constitutional right, Second Amendment constitutional right, to keep and bear arms, and that right shall not be infringed. It was written in the U.S. Constitution by, if I'm not mistaken, it was Thomas Jefferson and these guys. Some of the founding fathers. But um, yeah, you know, these lawyers are not willing to fight these cases, and these judges are not willing to abide by the Constitution. It's wrong. And if you challenge a judge and you tell a judge that, uh, this is your right, they get upset with you and they end up giving you more time. So that's why a lot of people just lay down and just take their constitutional right. Just like you got the right to remain silent when you get arrested. Um, you have a Fifth Amendment constitutional right that if you're questioned by the authorities or you're questioned in the court of law, you can keep your mouth shut if you want to. That's your right. But a lot of people are scared to do that because they know that the punishment that they would get by being quiet is that now the judge is going to try to put the screws to you. Oh, you don't want to cooperate? You don't want to tell us what we want to hear? Okay, we're going to show you, Mr. Smart Guy. You think that you're intelligent by, uh, you know, using your constitutional rights? We're going to show you. So before we were going to give you a year and maybe 4 years probation. Now we're going to give you 5 years. We're going to give you 8 years in prison. And now you're like, damn, I should have said something. But uh, so that's how they kind of trick you and push you into giving up your rights. And now, mind you, I may know these things, but all of this is easier said than done. Of course, it's easy to say, "Oh, these are my rights, this and that," and standing up for yourself. But you know what comes with that if you inform a police officer that you know your rights, he's usually going to turn up the heat on you and find a way to really, really screw you over, and then you just in the bigger trouble. But yeah, you saw that home invasion, criminal short. Yeah. All right, CJ, yeah, appreciate you, man. Thanks for stepping in here, man, and rocking with me this morning. Or maybe it's an evening where you at and enjoy your game. I'm about to jump off here too, but I'm gonna just give one last little glance, little view before I move on to my next destination. I'm going up into the mountains. Good morning, assalamu alaikum. Yeah. So, but yeah, I appreciate everybody for jumping on, and we're gonna continue this and stay updated on what's going on. All right, you guys take it easy. What's up, struggler? All right. Appreciate you always, struggler, holding it down. And Penn, who else? Let me give a shout out to Samantha Rollins. Who else was in the chat? DOD, Test the Spirits, and Lee Clinton. Mark Smith. Appreciate y'all for stepping in here and keeping the chat active. All right, see y'all later.